I want to welcome you to the senior parent meeting for the class of 2023. I want to encourage all of you to join our Remind codes. They were the codes that were set up by Miss Baggett, 9th grade, and I'm going to continue to use them through senior year. You can find the Remind codes on the calendar that is on our counselor webpage. And they are important because senior year, there's a lot of important dates that come up. There are times that Jostens will be here. I will remind students about graduation, practice, scholarships. So please make sure that you join the Remind codes. I encourage that for the students and the parents. Also important to note that graduation will be on Friday, May 19th at 7 p.m. at the Burton Coliseum. Your students will have practice that morning at 8:45 and then return that evening. So the first thing I'm going to go over with you, I want you to know I did do class visits last week. I went to every single English class. So your students, the presentation that I'm about to get, they have heard this before. Ms. Blanchard is doing her visits tomorrow and Thursday. So, but I know that senior year is important. There's a lot of stuff. I talked to them for 45 minutes, 50 minutes straight. I'm sure they didn't absorb all of it. So that's why I wanted you to come tonight so that you could get all this information. So everything I'm going to discuss tonight, if you go to our schools, oh, this is our school. If you go to our schools and go to Sulphur High School, this is our webpage. If you go up to the top and click on the counselor tab here, this is where we're going to have all of our information. So first of all, if you would need to email Ms. Blanchard or myself, you can click on Meet Our Counselor, and my email address is there and my phone number is there. Everything that I'm going to discuss tonight is going to be under this senior class information. So I gave your students a packet that has to be turned in, and I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. I went over the honor grad policy. I gave them that. We worked on their TOPS GPA. They have that. And then we talked about the calendar. I did not give them a copy of the calendar, but I gave you a copy of the calendar tonight when you walked in, and that's what we're going to go over first. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes on, but these are the dates that I really want you to keep in mind and maybe put on your calendar. I'm going to see if it'll open, but if you will look at it with me, I'm going to go over what you should be doing senior year. So the first thing is in September, you should be doing reviewing your high school transcript. So I gave all of the students a copy of their transcript when I did class visits. We checked them. We made sure that they were in the right classes to graduate and to receive TOPS if they have the GPA and ACT score. My counselors have checked them, and the district has checked them. So at this point, your students are in the classes that they need for graduation and for TOPS, okay? It also says to choose your top 3 colleges. So I emailed all of the colleges a few weeks ago and asked them when you should start applying, and their answer was right now. So students can start applying for college right now. The easiest thing to do is just go to their website. You can, usually there's a button that'll say apply here or future students, and you fill out the application, okay? So they need to start doing that now, not wait. I tell them you don't want to wait until you have the ACT score. You apply now and they will accept you pending your ACT score. The other thing is once you get acceptance, you accept them all, okay? So if you apply to Mcneese, Sewella, LSU, UL, and they're gonna send you an email that says, we accept you as our student, we will offer you this amount of scholarships if that's applicable, and you say, thank you very much, I accept. You accept everything. Because if you leave it sitting in your inbox, they're gonna just think, well, I guess that student doesn't wanna come here, okay? Then once you make your decision, like, okay, I've decided I'm gonna go to UL, then you will email all of the other colleges back and say, thank you, but I've decided to go to UL. That way they can take those scholarship dollars and give them to someone else. Okay, but you cannot wait until April to accept, because by that time, it's too late. You can still get accepted, but you may not get the scholarship dollars. Mcneese was here today. I want to show you. They were at lunches. I did send the kids a reminder telling them that they would be here, and they left some flyers. So they're having preview days October 1st, November 5th, and February 4th. And then they also left some scholarship information. So like for Mcneese, they will tell you, depending on your ACT score and your GPA, what level of scholarships you would be getting, okay? And you can find all of this information. You know, back in the day, you had to go to, you know, all of the colleges, and now everything is online. So if you're looking for, well, how much is UO gonna give me if I have a 4.0 and a 32 on the ACT, you can find all that information online. The other thing I tell the kids is I'm not a college counselor, so I don't know all of the answers. I am glad to help them if they come to me, but basically they're gonna sit in my office and we're gonna go to the website and we might find a recruiter and we're gonna email them, but that's how you get answers. Colleges want you. Some of the colleges are really suffering right now, and so if you reach out to them and ask them your questions, they will answer you, okay? So they're more than welcome to come to me, but I don't know all the answers, okay? So that's the first thing they need to be doing. The next thing is to schedule ACT. So we just had an ACT last weekend, and we have a few more coming up. So if you notice here, when it pops up, there is a December 10th test. There's a February, I can't remember the date. Of course, it's not going to come up. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's a September 10th. We just had that one. I'm sorry. There's an October 22nd test date. You should have registered by last Friday. Again, I sent them a reminder telling them that. If you didn't register and you want to take the October 22nd test, you can. You have to pay a $40 late fee, but I would do that as soon as possible. There's a December 10th test, a February 11th, and an April 15th, okay? There's a June and a July test. Most colleges want the score from April. So by April, you really need to have the score that you want to get into a college. You can still take the June and July test if you are trying. Sometimes you'll be penalized for tops. But notice, I was telling the kids when I did class visits, you really only have 4 more chances to get your ACT score where you want it to be. On the other side is SAT. So you can take, if your child has struggled with ACT and they just cannot get the score that they want, they can try SAT. You can convert an SAT score to an ACT score. SAT does not have science. It's more reading, math, and English. So if that's their stronger points, they might want to try and take the SAT. If science is their strong point, they're probably better on ACT. These are given at Sulphur High School on the Saturdays. Okay, so you go to ACT.org yourself, you register the student, but notice, like I said, you only have a few more dates left for that. The other thing students ask me for with ACT is about how can I get help? How can I get a tutor? There are some face-to-face tutors. We have a few at our school, Mr. Prejean. There's one at Sam Houston, Brenda DeFelice. Their English teachers are really their best bet for their English score, but there's a ton of online stuff that you can do. So I put one on here called March to Success. What it does is you'll do like a practice ACT, and depending on what you do poorly on, it will give you some lessons that you can go through. So there are online tools that you can use. Next is complete college applications, which we talked about. The parent meeting, September 28th. So Jostens is our graduate sales company this year. They're going to be doing our cap, gowns, tassels, all of that stuff. They will be here on September 28th. They will meet with the students. I think the girls are at 10 and the boys are at 10:30. So they will come in the auditorium, they will present. What do you have to have for graduation? You have to have a cap, a gown, a tassel, and a collar. So that used to run about $115, not sure with everything going up, but that's what the student has to have for graduation. And you have until March, which is when students will pick it up, you have until then to pay. They do offer more things that you can buy, you know, shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants, all kinds of stuff, but what they have to have is the cap, the gown, the tassel, and the collar, okay? It used to be called like the graduation essential package, I think is what they call it. So they will be here on September 28th, and then if you notice, I'm gonna skip over to October real quick, on October 5th, they're going to come back, and girls will come down first hour, boys will come down second hour, and they will take payments But again, I've had students that have to pay for it themselves, and they set up a payment plan, and every time Jostens comes, they would pay them $10 until they had it paid off. Or you can pay them a check outright. I gave the students a flyer the other day that had a QR code from Jostens. I think now you can order everything online. So there's all kind of different ways to order, but the kids will be getting information from them on the 28th. The next thing is FAFSA. So this is something I really want to focus on. FAFSA it stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Okay, so any money that you want from the government to help you pay for college, you have to complete a FAFSA. That includes TOPS, that is grants, that is loans. Any type of money that's coming from them, you have to complete a FAFSA. Okay, it is also now a graduation requirement. So every student must either complete the FAFSA or they have to sign the waiver, which I'll show you that in a minute. But I encourage them to do the FAFSA. You know, a lot of students think, well, I don't have a 20 on the ACT. Well, you might have a 17, and that could get you TOPS Tech to get you money to go to Sewella. So you never know what you're going to get on the ACT. So I encourage every student to complete the FAFSA. It opens on October 1st. So on October 1st, my suggestion is within that week to start applying. And I tell you that because, again, if you skip over to October, Mcneese is coming on October 18th. And they're going to do a presentation on how to complete a FAFSA. Because like I told the kids in class, my oldest is 10 years old. I've never done a FAFSA. I know the gist of it. I know that you go online and you enter a bunch of information about yourselves, your parents. You have to upload your income tax documents from years prior. But I don't know all the answers. And there's all kind of different situations. You know, I live with my mom, but my dad claims me on his taxes. Or I live with my grandma, but she doesn't even have custody of me. And I don't know all the answers to those questions, but I can find you someone that does. But my advice would be to start doing the FAFSA in October, so that way when you come to the October 18th meeting, you might have questions. Like, okay, well, I got to this point and I'm stuck. What do I need to do? Okay? So that's just my, like I said, I encourage every student to complete the FAFSA. It is a graduation requirement now. And I think it's a graduation requirement because there was so much money a few years ago that was just like left out there because kids weren't doing the FAFSA. They didn't even realize they had to do it to get TOPS. So there were kids that could have qualified for TOPS who didn't complete a FAFSA, and then there was just money out there. So a few years ago, they made it a graduation requirement. I gave the students a packet in class, and that will be returned to me on September 30th. So I'm going to go over the packet with you. I did not make enough copies to give you another one. I'm hoping your student gave it to you. If they didn't, I am going to have a few on the table when you leave, okay? So I'm going to pull it up on here so you can see it. At the bottom here, under senior class information, this is the documents that I gave to your students. Okay, so the first one is a parent letter. And basically what that is doing is just explaining what all of these documents are. I did have my laptop set up and then it decided to not work. So thank you, Ms. McCardle, for saving the day on that. Okay, I'm gonna go over this one. This is the consent form. So when your students come home, there are two forms that are consents. They are the third and fourth page. So this page right here, which is the one that's on the screen. And then the fourth page is another consent form, okay? What this is, we do not print their diplomas here at Sulphur High School. They come from the state. So for me to get your child's diploma, I have to send them your child's transcript, basically stating they have taken all the classes and passed all the classes that they need. I cannot send your child's transcript unless you give me permission to do that. So this consent form where it says I consent is giving me permission to send your child's transcript and their information to the state so that they can turn around and send me your child's diploma, okay? So that's pages 3 and 4. Page 2, this is the FAFSA waiver that I was telling you about. Let me see if I can pull it up on here. The FAFSA waiver. So again, I told you I wanted you to do the FAFSA. I really want all the students to complete the FAFSA. However, if they don't, for them to be able to graduate and walk across that stage, they have to complete the FAFSA waiver. So this is what the FAFSA waiver looks like. So there is a place there for you to sign. There's a place for the student to sign. There's a place where it says parent statement. You have to write a statement, but I wrote it for you. It's on the first page where it says parent statement. It's in bold. You have to write the parent statement, and then you and your child have to sign. But let me tell you what happens. I told the kids this little story. So next year they go on to great things. I'm still at Sulphur High School. And they're going to come to me, the state, and it's an audit, and they're going to say, okay, I need you to pull up John Smith's, you told me he had a FAFSA waiver, I need to see it. So I'm going to go pull John Smith's stuff. If John Smith's parent hasn't written the parent statement, then I'm going to be in trouble. If John Smith's signature looks just like Jack Smith's signature, his daddy, I'm going to get in trouble. Does that make sense? So it needs to be legit. The student has to sign, the parent has to sign, and the parent statement has to be written. So this is the biggest question I get. Well, I'm not doing that because I'm going to do the FAFSA. Okay, and that's great. There's some kids that have turned this in and have not completed this part because they're like, Ms. Dorman, I'm going to do the FAFSA. And that's great. But in March, I'm going to be running around like a crazy person if I haven't gotten an email from the state telling me that you've done the FAFSA. They're going to have to sign this. So what I tell the kids, what I would love for them to do is to complete this. Even if you plan on doing the FAFSA, this is like my placeholder that I put in their little folder, and then once I get an email from the state that says your child has completed the FAFSA, then this is null and void. Does that make sense? So you signing this, I don't send this to the state and say, well, don't worry, he's not going to do it. This is just a placeholder so I can make sure that they walk across the stage. Okay, so again, FAFSA waiver, 2 consent forms. The last page is what we call an honors resume. So your student may need me to write them a letter of recommendation for a college, for a scholarship, especially in the spring when scholarships become big, which Ms. Blanchard's going to talk about scholarships in just a minute. And I love writing letters of recommendation. I have no problem doing it, but I kind of need to know a little bit about your students. Some of your students I know very well. If they're involved in sports or activities, band, clubs here on campus, a lot of times I know about that. But if they have a job, I tell the kids all the time, if you've held a job somewhere for a year, that's commendable, that you go to school all day and then you go to work. Tell me that. Tell me where you've worked. Do you volunteer at your church? Do you babysit on the weekends? Have you played soccer since you were 6? I tell them I don't need to know your life story. I used to be an English teacher. I can turn bullet points into beautiful paragraphs if you give me something to work with. Okay? So this, again, is for me to have, so when I have to write a letter of recommendation. And I tell them if they email me in March when scholarships get big and want me to write a letter of recommendation, I'm going to go pull this. And if they haven't done it, I'm not going to go chase them down. I'm just going to write what I know about them at that point. Okay? So that is the packet. So the last thing in September is September 30th. I need this turned in to me. I have not gotten many back, which I did tell the kids, look, if you want to wait till the parent meeting so that your parents understand what they're signing, I'm totally fine with that. But if you could get them to give this packet to you if you have not seen it yet, and then if you can sign all the documents, that would be great. And I do check all the documents, so if it comes to me and it's not right, I'm going to send it back with them, tell them what needs to be fixed, and you can fix it. Okay, going on to October. So like I told you, October 1st, FAFSA opens. You go to fafsa.gov. You have to be very careful. If you go to fafsa.com, I don't know if this is still a thing, but I know a few years ago there was like a fafsa.gov or com, and people were filling it out and they were making them pay. You do not have to pay to complete a FAFSA. So if you have to pay to complete a FAFSA, you are on the wrong website. Okay, you need to go to fafsa.gov. Again, October 5th, you'll turn in their Jostin stuff. October 10th, if your child did not take a senior picture this summer for the yearbook, that is the last date. Okay, I tell the kids they can take their senior pictures that they send out to their family on the cards anywhere they want, but if they want to be in the yearbook, they have to take the picture by October 10th. And if they go see, and I told them this in class, they can go see Miss Seaford, Miss Brasher. She will tell them exactly what they need to do, and I've also sent it out on Remind. On October 17th, we are having a college and career fair at Mcneese. When you walked in, there was a flyer that I gave to you. So the CTE department puts on a college and career fair. It's at Mcneese. All local colleges will be there. There will be, the military is there. There are industries that are there, police, EMT. There's all kinds of different things. And it's a great time to go and ask questions. Remember I told you earlier, a lot of times you can email to people, which is great, but if you want to talk to someone face-to-face, or if your student has a few colleges that they're interested in, chances are they will be at our college and career fair. It's from 6 to 8. It's at the Mcneese Recreation Complex. And if they have any questions, they're more than welcome to email me or let me know. But that's something that I do encourage them to do, is attend that college and career fair. Again, even if they think they know where they want to go for sure, that's still a great tool that they can use. October 18th, I will have our FAFSA completion meeting here at 6 p.m. It's going to be for the whole west side. Mcneese is going to come do that for you guys. October 22nd is the ACT. October 25th is the panoramic picture. So that's the picture of all the seniors that hangs in the counselor's office for years to come, and they can also purchase it. So that day they will be able to purchase that picture if they want to. So that will be October 25th. So if your student attends Mcneese or Sewella or an off-site school right now, we have a few kids that are there and they can come. That would be great if they can try to come for the panoramic picture. November, I said attend college visitation visits. So here's the deal. If your student is like, I'm going to Tech, that's where I'm going, then you need to go to Tech. You can't really get a feel for what you want until you're there. And especially if they have a certain major that they want to go into, you really need to go do college visits because it's a great tool. And again, those are the people that you're going to reach out to when you have questions. If they need a letter of recommendation, I would love to know by November, but again, that's not necessary, but the sooner the better. I did tell students not to email me on a Thursday at 3 and tell me I need one by tomorrow at 8 a.m. Like, I do have a life outside of school. I can do one pretty quick, but if they would just give me a day or two, I will do that for them. November 18th is ASVAB. So that is a military test. It's an aptitude test. So if your student is out there like, I have no idea what I want to do with the rest of my life, I don't have any passions, whatever, the military gives them a test. There's some math, some English, but it's an interest inventory as well. And then they'll get the results that will kind of say, well, based on how you answered these questions, this is a great field that we think you would do well in. In December, if your child has not passed the needed LEAP 2025 requirements, which I do have a handful of them, they have 2 more chances, once in December and once in April. Again, on your child's transcript that I gave them the other day, at the bottom, it says, has the student completed all needed testing? And it says yes or no. And if it says no, then that's who I will be testing in December and April. I did talk to Mcneese today. Their scholarship deadline is December 1st. So what that means is they will, like I said, they will still accept you after December 1st, but you may or may not get scholarship dollars. So I would definitely try to apply before then. There's a December 10th ACT, and then LSU let me know that their priority deadline was December 15th. January, attendance recovery. So if your student does not come to school regularly or they are absent a lot, then they will have to do attendance recovery. Okay, it is a state law that your student has to be in the course for so many days to get the credit. Even if they make an A in the class, if they miss 75 days, they have to do attendance recovery. It was waived for a few years, so I think a lot of our students last year were a little bit surprised by that because of the hurricanes and COVID, and it came back last year, and it's here again. And senior year, you don't have all summer to get it done. So I tell them to please come to school, and then we don't have to worry about that. Going over to February, Suella's priority deadline is February 1st. There is an ACT on February 11th. Another very important thing, we have a thing called Honors Night. It is in April. It's on your calendar. It is April 27th at 6 p.m. here in the auditorium. We honor seniors who get scholarships or awards from Sulphur High School, but we also honor any senior who got any scholarship that they turn into us. Okay, so if your student's going to go to UL, they get an email that says, congratulations, John, we would like to award you $32,000 to attend UL. They're going to print that email, they're going to give it to myself or Miss Angie, she's our counselor secretary, she's the one that's right there when they walk in the counselor's office, and we will make a copy of it and we will honor them at Honors Night. Okay, or if your mom works for Sitco and you get a scholarship through Sitco, you print that out, you bring it to us, we will honor you at Honors Night. Every year though, we get people that are upset that we didn't honor their student, but we didn't know. You have to let us know. There's no way for us to track all the scholarships that all 432 seniors get. Okay, so as soon as you start getting those letters, you're gonna wanna print them out, bring them to Miss Angie or myself so that we can start keeping up with that. And if you have questions about that, you can reach out to me. In March, cap and gowns will be delivered. I talked to Jostens today. He doesn't know the date yet, but once it gets closer to time, I will let you know. In April, okay, so remember earlier I told you to accept everything. You accept it all. By April, hopefully you know kind of which school that you're planning on going to, and then at that time you would need to let the other colleges know that you've decided to go to a different college and tell them thank you but no thank you so that they can release those scholarship dollars to someone else. April 15th is the last ACT that you can take for most college acceptance. Again, in April I will begin LEAP testing those students who have not passed yet. April 27th is Senior Honors Night. May 6th, I have that right now as the last day to complete work. I don't know that that's the exact date. I did tell the kids I didn't print them a copy of the calendar because it's a fluid document. I'm kind of always working on it. But around that time is their last day. So that means at the beginning of May, they have to be done with grade recovery, attendance recovery. All of their stuff has to be turned into their teachers. If you have an essay due on May 5th and you turn it in on May 8th, then the teacher's not going to grade it. And that's because teachers have to finalize their grades so they can get them to us, so we can get them on the transcript, we can do transcript final checks, get their diplomas back. So sometime at the beginning of May will be the last date that they can turn that in, and I will definitely let them know. And then again, May 19th, 7 p.m., Burton Coliseum is graduation. Okay, so I know I went through that quickly, but again, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Ms. Blanchard is going to talk to you about scholarships, and then I'm going to talk to you about honor grad policy and TOPS, and then we will be done. So I promise not to keep you too much longer. I'll pull it up for you.
Okay. Just a minute about scholarships. The main thing is where scholarships are available. At Sulphur High, we do post scholarships here in our office, but those are very limited. So you want to find other avenues for scholarships for your students. And a couple of things to think about are the college wherever your student is planning to attend. I know that there's some academic scholarships, there's TOPS that's available, but oftentimes there are other scholarships through certain departments at the colleges and other organizations that go through the college that your student's attending. So you want to look at those websites, and Oftentimes it's embedded in your student's application, their college application, but sometimes there's another place where it's available to them. So you want to go there. So the colleges where they're attending, parents and students' places of employment. Oftentimes there are scholarships available that way, civic groups, and then, like I said, Sulphur High is limited, but we do have some that will be available. As we get those scholarships into our office, they're posted in 2 different places. One is here online. If you go in that scene, in the counselor page, there is a scholarships tab here. And if you click on there, any scholarships that we get in, the name of that scholarship will be there, a description with the criteria to be eligible to apply for that scholarship will be there, the due date will be there. Oftentimes, especially in the fall, most scholarships are online. There's not going to be like a paper application. The paper applications come most often in the spring. You want to pay close attention to where those applications need to go. Are they going to the donor? And this is going to be for the spring. Are they going to the donor of the scholarship, or are they coming into the counselor's office? And all of that information is going to be available on the application. So if it is a paper application, it's going to be attached here online. If it's an online application, I put the web address for them to click on and apply online. Everything is there, but it's also posted in the counselor's office. We have a bulletin board where we post the scholarships there. Whatever is posted online is also posted in the counselor's office. So it's either or, both places. That's about it. That's just kind of the short of it. But please have your students apply. They're, just like Ms. Domingue was mentioning, that oftentimes with colleges, there's money that's just left out there. Every year we have scholarships that no one applies, or one person may apply and they get that scholarship. There's no competition there. A lot of times if your student has to write an essay, they won't do that. So if your student doesn't mind writing a little bit, there's scholarships out there where they want to know a little bit about themselves, maybe about their future, and it's not asking a whole lot, but it does take time to write those essays, but oftentimes those are kind of left behind. So just be aware of those kinds of things. If y'all ever have any questions, you can contact me in the counselor's office and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And I don't know, I'm sorry, Ms. Blanchard may have said this, but I do usually send a remind out. So anytime we put scholarships, I'll just shoot a remind out like, okay, hey, there's some new scholarships available, check the website, check whatever. Okay, so the last few things I want to show you real quick. First of all, this FAFSA guide right here, they used to send us this printed out for us, and we would give it to all the seniors. They have not done that this year, but they sent it to me. So this, I tell the students, if I was going to complete a FAFSA, I would have to get my little FAFSA guide, print it out next to my computer, and follow the steps. So it tells you step by step exactly what you have to do to complete a FAFSA. Step 1, step 2, step 3. This is a little, have I done everything I'm supposed to do? And then I tell them on this last page where it has students and parents, call 844-463-2372. So when a student comes to my office with one of those questions about, you know, mom, dad, I don't know what to do, I will usually give them this phone number. And they're very good. I've called with a student before who didn't have a parent, and we talked to them, and they're very helpful. But they're the experts. They know all of this stuff about FAFSA. So if you get to a point and you're just stuck and you don't know what to do, you can always call that number. The next thing that's super important is the honor grad policy. So a few years ago with the class of 2021, actually, it was supposed to be the 2020 kids, but we didn't end up doing it that year because it was crazy. We changed the honor grad policy a little bit. So I want to make sure that you understand what your student has to do to be an honor grad. So there are now 2 components. They have to have a 3.5 or higher GPA without rounding, okay? So these are the levels up here. You'll see summa cum laude is 3.9 to 4.0 plus. They wear a gold stole. Magna cum laude is 3.7 to 3.89. They wear a silver stole. Cum laude is 3.5 to 3.69, and they wear a bronze stole. And I tell the kids, if you end with a 3.49, you're not an honor grad. That's just how it is. So I want them to understand that. I also want them to understand that your GPA senior year does not skyrocket. I had a student email me the other day, and he really wanted to be an honor grad, so he's got a 3.33 right now, and I figured it out, and he's taking 4 classes. Even if he makes all A's, he's still at like a 3.43 or something like that. It's not going to skyrocket, okay? So if you're at a 3.2, the chances, unless you're taking 8 AP classes, the chances of it going super high is not there. We always tell them, and I know Ms. Irwin's over there, she's our freshman counselor, and when she does class visits, they tell them freshman year is really the most important year because it kind of sets the tone for your GPA. You're either crawling your way back up, you know, if you don't do so well, or if you do well, you're just maintaining. So, and kiddos always get upset senior year because, well, Ms. Dorman, I made all A's this year. I should be an honor grad, but baby, you made D's freshman year. So that, you know, I can't do anything about that. So if you have another student, make sure freshman year they're really focusing on their academics. That's really an important year. Okay, so the first thing is GPA. The second thing is they must earn at least 110 points on the graduation index strength of diploma. Okay, let me tell you what that really means. Okay, and I put the chart here. They have to now pass, there's another component. Okay, so they have to have one of the following. They have to have taken an AP course. They have to have taken a dual enrollment course that is a core class. So at our school, we offer math and science. So like Math 113, Math 170, Biology 101. They have to earn a state credential, which is a lot of times offered in our Jumpstart courses. And some of our TOPS kids take Jumpstart courses. Okay, so they have to earn a state credential, or they have to pass a CLEP test. So a CLEP test is a college level exam that they can take. So what will happen? Let's say you're sitting out there and you're like, well, my kid has a 3.8, but they've never taken AP, they've never taken dual enrollment, and I don't think they have a state credential. What's going to happen is I'm going to run a list in like December of my kids that are potential honor grads. And I'm going to give that list to Ms. McCardle, and she's going to CLEP test those students. So she's going to pull them in, and she's going to say, okay, you have the potential to be an honor grad, you've got the GPA, but you don't have one of those other components. Do you want a CLEP test? And we're hoping they're all going to say, yes, Ms. McCardle, we do. Last year, some of them were like, y'all, and it's not just to be an honor grad. You could get English 101 credit after you pass that CLEP test. So it's very important to encourage your students to take the CLEP test, okay? Even if they're not going to be an honor grad, I know a lot of the English classes are CLEP testing students that may not have the 3.5 just to try to get them some college credit before they leave, okay? So what I told the students, and I talked to Ms. McCardle about this before we walked in, if your student wants to be an honor grad and they have the GPA, we are going to offer them what they need to be an honor grad. Whether or not they accept it from us, that's on them, okay? So I'm hoping that we've encouraged them enough, but I do want you to understand there are now 2 components, okay? And if you have questions about that, you are more than welcome to email me at any time, and I will give you the answers. Last thing I want to show you, and I go over I know I went over this if you came to my junior parent meeting. There's a lot more people here tonight than my junior parent meeting. But this is what we call TOPS calculation. This is what kids don't understand. And I told them, if you leave with nothing else I say today, leave with this and remember this. So what happens is when you leave Sulphur High School, you leave with 2 GPAs. You leave with a cumulative GPA. That is every class that you have ever taken at Sulphur High School divided by that number of classes That's your cumulative GPA. That's what's on their transcript that I gave them. That's what determines if they're an honor grad. What determines if they get tops is based off of the 19 core courses. So English, their math, and notice right here, see how number 8 is blank? Well, they can fit any of these in there. Their social studies, their science, their foreign language, and their art. That's it. So what's not on there? I always tell the kids, what's not on there that y'all make A's in? There's no PE, there's no health, there's no electives. So a lot of kids think that they're going to get tops. They leave high school, they've got a 2.5 on that cumulative transcripts, and they think they're going to get tops. And they're very disappointed when they get no tops because they didn't calculate their tops GPA. And we did this in class. Ask your student. We went through. Their transcript was here, their tops calculation was there, and I made them put in all their grades. And I made them figure out, okay, how many points do you need to be able to get tops? So if you ask them for that paper, they have it, okay? Here's the other important thing. There's 2 components to receiving tops. So the first thing is their GPA. The second thing is their ACT score. So they have to have so there's 3 levels of tops. I hope y'all can see that. There's 3 levels of tops. There's opportunity. You have to have a 2.5 GPA and a 20 on the ACT. Okay? Or if you scroll over, 48 points. So when you add those points together, you have to have 48 points. So an A is worth A, a B is worth 3, oh wait, what did I say? An A is worth 4, a B is worth 3, a C is worth 2, D is worth 1, or if you're taking an AP class, A is worth 5, Ask the kids, they know, they've been doing it. Okay, performance, you have to have a 3.25 and a 23 on the ACT. Okay, for honors, you have to have a 3.5 and a 27 on the ACT. And it's both components, so if you leave here with a 4.0, but a 20 on the ACT, what level are you getting? Opportunity. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, I want everyone to understand what their TOPS GPA is versus their cumulative and what their ACT score has to be. The other thing I want to show you, if you're sitting out there and your child is Jumpstart, there is TOPS Tech dollars that they can get. And this is their worksheet. So it looks a little bit different. They have the maths, the Englishes, the 2 histories, the science, and then they have 9 Jumpstart classes that they have to get. And then if you notice at the bottom, I will scroll down, they have to have a 2.5 or a 17 on the ACT, okay? Or work keys. That's another test. It's an ACT test, or it's from an ACT company. It's a little bit more work-based, but if they score silver on that, that's the same thing as a 17 on the ACT. And again, we're going to kind of target those kiddos. Ms. McCardle and I will look at those kiddos who haven't quite got that 17 on their ACT, and we will try to work keys test them. So we're working hard here to make sure that your kids have everything that they need, but they have to, meet us halfway a little bit, and as long as they're trying, we're going to give them the opportunity to get what they need. I think that is all I have. Let me double check myself. I just want you to know, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. Email me, that's probably the best way to get to me. You can call me, and you can always come visit. So if you have any questions, I will be up here. You can come ask me. And I did put a few packets over there if your student did not bring them home to you. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Joe T.